Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chasing Psychological Safety video series. This week, we're here to talk about command and control leadership and servant leadership, or empowering teams through your leadership. One thing that has really been highlighted through the pandemic and the time as we've been slowly but surely coming out of the pandemic has been the prevalence of what we call a command and control style of leadership, still in existence at particularly the middle management level of leadership in many, many organizations out there. What's a little bit worrying about this is that idea of command and control, that pressure that leaders are putting on themselves to micromanage and be completely in control and have 100% visibility of what their teams and their workers are doing at all times, is creating what the CEO of Microsoft is calling productivity paranoia. So an unreal need to know what people are doing at all times, a focus on delivery and task that is not needed, is unnecessary, but is manifesting in leaders feeling and saying maybe that their teams aren't as productive as they thought they were, but in fact that's not the reality. The reality is that that's being created upstairs for those leaders. Now, we can see what's contributing to this. You know, we can see that at the executive level, where you have to let go and you have to be strategic, that servant leadership, that trust and empowerment of teams is actually, surprisingly, maybe for some, a bit more prevalent. But at this middle management level, due to role modeling and the history of leadership that they've experienced, due maybe to pressures coming in from senior leadership in their organizations, or perceived pressure to perform, or even political pressure in some public sector environments, those leaders are carrying with them a need to be in control, that now that we're in this hybrid working environment is not going to sustain organizations long term, it's not going to sustain cultures long term, and teams aren't going to buy it, quite frankly, because flexible working is here to stay, and teams really do still feel that they are more productive in a hybrid working environment.
Right, so the two separate big societal and economical trends that are contributing to the ushering out of command and control that we're witnessing today, and we are witnessing it kicking and screaming. It's not an easy transformation. Are first and foremost, as Fionn says, this change in the workplace that has brought us to this hybrid reality where remote working is the norm and there's no going back to a line of sight environment where you can kind of look over the shoulder of your workers to ensure they are doing the things you believe you want them to be doing. So that's the number one driver. But the second and more lasting driver, if you wish, that existed way before the pandemic, but didn't really have a way of manifesting itself before the changes in the workplace, is the fact that we need a speed of delivery in every industry we're in that is unprecedented. Never before has humanity had to deliver things as fast as we do today, which means that we have to change completely the way we work. And that means that our visibility towards our outcomes has to be redefined. And that means that we have to work in smaller chunks of work, we have to work collaboratively, we have to work in an agile fashion. You cannot do that while you're maintaining a culture of command and control, simply because the two are incompatible. So between these two drivers, the move towards agility, which is driven by the need for fast results, and the fact that the workplace has completely changed to remote, there is no place remaining for people that believe they have to micromanage, for people that believe they have to see to believe that their people are doing the right things. So what is there to do? Short of sending everyone back to school for 4 or 5 years so that they come out of there being a different type of manager, and we know what type of manager they need to be. By the way, there's no real need for us to define this. We all instinctively know what an inspirational and effective leader is, how empowering they are, how they remove obstacles, how they ensure we have all the resources we need, how they give us coaching, how they give us emotional support and safety, and how they let us grow and perform at our best. We all know this, right? But to get there and to transform our existing command and control middle managers into those people, again, short of sending them back to school, short of creating these very complicated, lengthy, and fundamental change programs within organizations, which, let's face it, is not going to happen for multiple reasons that we're not going to go into today, or we're going to be talking for another couple of hours. What we suggest is devising various ways in which we show these people, these managers, that there is a path towards becoming a servant leader or becoming an efficient leader 2.0. And that path, unfortunately for them, involves a lot of human work. The human work at the team level is something we talk about every week. The human work at an individual level as a leader is not very different, although it's a complicated and sustained enterprise in itself. What obviously they would need to do is spend a lot more of their time learning, reading, watching all the TED Talks on the vulnerability and the empathy that they've missed before, understanding, kind of raising their EQ in an intentional fashion, doing enough introspection, doing enough observation, doing all the exercises they would need to do so that happens. So a lot of this is a serious amount of self-work. For that, we need to start as an organization giving them the resources and the environment to be doing it, right? So we need to, at the very minimum, give them the time to do it. We've seen organizations that are smart enough to give people 1 or 2 days a week solely for learning. There's no meetings to be had. There's no showing of any other results other than this leader has actually spent time on themselves and on their understanding of the team. Then obviously, if there are courses, if there are trainings, if there are things that you can throw educationally in that direction, that's a great idea. But first and foremost, making the time, becoming the servant leader as an organization that you want them to become by giving them the resources that they raise their EQ and they raise their ability to do so. We equally advocate that you start paying them for this work, literally reward them for doing the human work of becoming a better leader in a monetary or at least recognition-based fashion. And one of the things that we also advise, because we've seen it working really well, is to start thinking of the teams that these people are in. And if they can't be in teams, and obviously they're in a team with their direct reports, but that's a very different type of relationing. What we advise is that you look at the cross-section of tribes for leadership, where servant leaders can meet, they can reassure each other, they can offer each other the type of support and of coaching that you can only get from others living the same exact reality as yourself. And so if those are created in organizations that do have them, that a lot of these servant leaders find a lot of solace in having that cross-sectional type of support in a newly formed working group or tribe. So those are some of the direct things that can be done, but obviously start understanding what outcomes mean, start understanding what this flexibility brings in terms of leadership. There's a lot of work, and we are not going to progress collectively before we stop the productivity paranoia that Fiona was mentioning.
Absolutely. And one of the ways, of course, to start on this journey for your teams and for your leaders as part of those teams and as part of leadership tribes or teams as well, is to come and talk to us. We've given you some tips and insights this morning from everything that we know and we see out there. We'd really love to speak to you directly about helping you more with this. But if you can't, please just give it a go. Start listening to what we've said this morning and making some of those changes, either individually or for your leadership team or for your organization. But thanks very much, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.